Lovely. Let's start mobilizing the body. Nice gentle neck rolls all the way around, but let the upper body follow. So let's not be too rigid in this movement. Maybe a little bit of a sway with the shoulders. So we're not going to the end range movements. We're just wakening up all the muscles of the neck and into the shoulders. Keep the jaw soft. And in the other direction. So nice heavy arms. We want to find some release in the shoulders, neck, the upper back. And for the last one, maybe close your eyes just to help you switch off from all the botherations, worries of the day. And then gently lift the head, open the eyes onto the shoulders. Let's circle the arms back, up. Breathe in, look up, and breathe out, lowering down. So we are exploring the shoulder joint, and we're reaching out of the shoulder as well. So it's good sometimes to get bone away from bone. So just breathing in, feeling space in the shoulders. We're adding that extension of the spine as we look up, and a slight flexion as the arms come down. Deep breathing. Start to think about the breath as you're siphoning breath in right down to the toes, filling the body. Breathing out, plunging the air all the way out of the body. Last circle in this direction. Maybe a little bit more of a lean back. And then the other direction, which is my favorite. Breathing in, looking up, and then the shoulders can melt back and down. Deep breath in as we stretch up, maybe a little bit back, and then the shoulder blades come together. Let's slow the next one right down so that we get that forward fold, a big lift. Now feel the tops of the shoulder blades together. As we open, the mid shoulder blades come together, and then the lower ones. And then just shake out the shoulders onto the hips, just our normal circles, just to warm up the hips. There's a fair bit on legs today. Maybe I shouldn't warn you, you're not to now switch off. Nice big movement all the way around. Just feeling how the legs are today. I'm a little bit tight in the hamstrings today, so I'll go a little bit easier on my forward folds. When you're ready, take those circles in the other direction. And then we'll move on to the knees. So take the feet hip distance apart, toes pointing forwards. If you've got any niggles in the knees, hold your knees. And we're taking a kind of circular movement with the knees. Keep the feet plugged down. So this is a nurturing, slow, careful circling. Obviously, when we're talking about Pilates, we want to have nice, clear-cut, helpful, balanced use of muscles, front and back, side to side of the muscles. But here, we're just taking time to stretch and just waking up the stabilizing muscles of the knees and the ankles. Change the direction of those knee circles. If your knees are fine, you can take a little sway here in that direction before we move on to the ankles. Weight into the left foot with the right toes, curl them up to the face and then point down. Again, lift and point, and then a big circle all the way around. Let's move the toes as well and the other direction. Shake out the leg over to the other side, point the toes, curl the toes up to the face. And point, and curl, and then draw a big circle, slowly, balance, and the other way. A shake out, and then I want us to come back to the transverse abdominals, the TVAs, or the corset muscle around the waist. So literally wrap around and meet at the spine. So a lifeline for our spine health. So with the feet hip distance apart, I want you to push your fingers into the fleshy part between the ribs and the crests of the hips here. And as you breathe out, soften the knees, breathe out, squeeze as if you're trying to zip up some tight jeans. If you can't feel them switch on, do you remember our trick of pressing in and clearing the throat? And hopefully you'll feel those muscles switch on. So I want you to really waken up those for when we take our legs into some of the next exercises. So let's try and pull in that corset around the waist without rounding the shoulders. So we stay nice and still, long through the spine and the neck, but we're holding, 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 and squeeze. Tighter jeans, pull in, like you're shrink wrapping the whole of this area. Sucking in, almost have the sensation you're pulling the tummy bottom back to the spine and tucking it under the ribs. Squeeze. Pelvic floor. If you need to take a rest, do. Then reset. Tummy bottom back to the spine. Tuck. Now pelvic floor. Feel that lift. So we're holding this, holding. Really get your awareness into this. Pull in, feel the corset, feel the lift in the pelvic floor. Think about the 2 points of the sit bones, the front of the pubic bone and the base of the spine. That diamond, pull in and up. If it's not too indelicate, think about sucking up some spaghetti. Apologies, that's not very ladylike. Pull up, squeeze everything available to you. For the last couple of counts, squeeze. We're going to need these muscles to move mindfully, carefully, safely. And release out. Okay, so now hopefully there's a bit of warmth here. Mula bandha, powerhouse, whatever you want to call it. We're taking the weight into the left foot, point the right toes. Now breathe in. As you breathe out, lift the leg. We breathe in and lower. Toes are pointing forward. So here's your Pilates. Nice alignment, knee, ankle, all in line with the hip. With the out breath, so we pull in the core. So it's a breath in to prepare. Breathe out. Empty the lungs, squeeze in. Breathe in. So that's 3. We're having 3 more on this side. So now keep going. Now notice I'm not going for that bugbear, ballistic flinging of the leg. I want you to feel like the core muscles are reeling the leg up and then with control lowering down. We've got another 2 on this side. You can keep your fingers digging in so that you have that awareness of that pulling in the core. You should be feeling this in your quadriceps. Toes are forwards. We've got that lovely alignment. Think about train tracks. If you've not done 6, add on your extra 1. Now with a turn out, so turn the toes of that right foot out to the side, and it's as if you're presenting this inner thigh forwards. Now you can soften your standing leg so the knee isn't locked. Again, a breath in and a with the out breath, everything pulls in and up. There is a small amount of momentum in this dynamic movement, but it's not that ballistic throwing. We want to keep the awareness into the core muscles. Yes, we're toning the legs. We are pushing the flexibility a little bit, but very mindfully. And as with all the other Pilates exercises we do, we want to train the brain to recruit the core muscles, the stabilizing muscles, at the same time as using the muscles of the lower leg. Keeping the turn out, we're going out to the side. Breath in to prepare. You can soften your standing leg, no locking out the knee, and it's the out breath. In and out of the mouth or the nose. It's that pulling in the core that we want to concentrate on. Shoulders back and down. Notice I'm keeping a turn out. External rotation of the thigh, the trochanter. We don't want bone grinding on bone. We need this external rotation of the thigh to get a nice, big, clear path of movement. Breathing deeply. I don't know what exercise I was doing yesterday, but I'm really feeling it in the hip on the standing leg. Give me 1 more here, and then we'll take the leg behind the body, still with the right leg. So, standing forwards a little bit, point your toes behind you. Important now to bend this front knee, so the weight into the ball of the foot, so we're not tempted to lock out the knee. You'll feel a difference. If you're back in the heel, you might lock out the knee. Ball of the foot pressed down, we're softening the knee. Breathe in. Important to use the core. We're not straining the lower back. It's a small lift, squeeze, and lower. So on the out breath, everything pulls in and supports that lift, the extension of the right hip. Keep going. Keep that awareness into your core muscles. You can see that in some group classes, you could so easily be copying your teacher and it just feels like you're flinging the leg back and it could so easily damage your lower back. So let's keep it a nice, careful, mindful movement. No arching of the lower back. We have this pull in here to counteract the lift. So you should be feeling this in the top of the thigh, lower glutes, squeeze, lift. Last two on this side, and then we're taking a lunge. I just kicked the wall. Last time, and now place the ball of that right foot on the floor, and we're gliding it back. Take a moment to find your balance here. We're stabilizing ourselves on this front thigh. With the back leg straight, tuck the bottom in, and let's find that hip flexor stretch. So let's keep the upper body nice and straight. And you can glide the back leg further back, but not if we end up leaning forwards. I want us to find a nice stretch in the front of this right hip. I'm mirroring you. So keep the pelvis tilted. Keep the stretch into the psoas. Now the right arm, corresponding arm lifts, and it's a small bend. Now you'll have to lean forwards and backwards, and just to find that perfect spot where we're stretching right down so it feels like we're releasing all the way along the front of the hip and into the outstretched fingers. Take a moment to stretch. Breathe. And then we're just taking 4 backstroke movements. Hold the shoulder, circling forwards, up, back, and down. Try and keep the pelvic tilt so we're still working into this hip. Breathing in, lifting, and lowering. If you've no shoulder niggles, you'll extend the arm and further explore the shoulder joints. But otherwise, any rotator cuff issues, any impingement at all in this shoulder, hold so that we can help keep that external rotation of the shoulder, and we should get a more gliding movement. Oh, let's come forward. We've got to go onto the other leg. So let's just shake out that active right leg we've been working. And we're over to the other leg. So place the weight into your right standing leg. Now, left toes. Remember, pointing forwards initially. Reconnect with your core. No locking out your standing leg knee. And with the out breath. Now, one other checkpoint, keep going on this side, is notice if when you breathe in, your shoulders are lifting and lowering. We want to maybe start to learn a different kind of breath, lateral thoracic breathing. So rather than breathing up into the lungs, let's start to think about breathing into the back of the ribs so that we're containing the energy around our core. Are we still going? Sit with me. I've lost count, so I'm going to do one more here, and then we take a turn out, so we're working the inner thighs. So again, softening the standing leg, and do shake out any point you need. It's using the out breath, we lift and control lower. Small amount of momentum, but no flinging. Reel the leg up and control it down. If we think about pulling away from gravity and then resisting gravity, we're getting strength all around the active leg. We're moving with the breath. So this is great. We're all switching from our anxious state, hopefully, to the parasympathetic nervous system. We'll keep the leg in turn out. We're taking that side jeté for the ballet dancers amongst us, and let's just stretch out to the side, the toes pointing wide, feel the inner thigh, that external rotation of the hip, and we're still using the core more on the side of the body now. Each out breath, we're trying to stay upright in the upper body, and the leg is slightly in front of the body, not directly out to the side. Last one, and then we'll take the extension of the hip, slide the foot behind, knee pointing down, toes pointing down, and squeeze the glutes. Now keep that work into your core. Close that corset around your waist. Squeeze the glutes, soften the standing leg, this knee, and squeeze and lift. So it's a minimal arching in the lower back or change here. If anything, pull in as we lift. Pull in, squeeze. If I think of the pelvic floor, I sometimes think about those fairground rides. Keep going. You know, when you bash the weight thing and it goes ping up
I want you to think about that kind of action reaction as you lift your pelvic floor up, squeeze. Try to keep the hips square to the front. Squeeze and lift. Squeeze and lower down. Well done. Shake out this leg. We're going to lunge back with this leg so we can stretch out the psoas. So the weight still into the left foot. Glide your right foot. Glide your left leg back. Tilt the pelvis and breathe into the front of the hip. You may want to hold onto your thigh for support. When you're ready, we've got the back leg straight, your glutes squeezed, bottom tilted, and we'll lift the corresponding left arm. It's a small lean across and more of a reach, your diagonal reach across to the top of the side wall, and a slight lean back, play with it till you get the stretch release in the side of the body, front of the hip. Breathing deeply, back leg straight. If you've got tightness in the hips, maybe return to this one after the class, or come and do this class again, where you can maybe take 3 breaths or more to release out the hip. We're going to backstroke this arm. I know we're loading onto this front quad, but you'll be fine, stronger for it. And explore this shoulder joint with an emphasis on opening shoulder back and down, maintaining more of an external rotation in the shoulder. Breathing in, lifting, and breathing out, lowering. You've done it. Shake out the arms. Let's just give this leg a little shake. Another one on the legs. We'll take a modified sort of skater to side movement so we give the inner thighs an opportunity to stretch. Toes are pointing forward. Let's come to Anjali Mudra. Thumbs into the sternum and press the hands in together, and we'll bend one knee. So knees forward, tracking over the toes. Breathe in, breathe out to the other side. So having the thumbs pressed into the chest just gives us that reminder to keep long rather than rounding down. Lengthen through the spine. We're going slow enough that we should release out where we've worked the inner thigh. Gently gliding, skating side to side. I've actually got so much I've planned for today. I could do with keeping you for an hour, but that wouldn't be very popular, would it? Another day, another day. So we're going to finish off. Make sure you've done same number each side. Last thing, standing up, goddess pose. So legs this time wide, but with the toes turned out. Let's just go over our VWTL arms. So we're working the arms, the upper body to even us out a little bit. Let's stand in this wide star position, stretch, breathe in. Now as we breathe out from our V shape, we come into our W and knees out wide. Take the arms out wide and then into that mirrored L shape. So again with the breath, breathe in V, squeeze the glutes, feel a stretch in so many directions, breathe out. Try to feel the shoulder blades gliding together. Squeeze. Now palms are facing up here, elbows squeezed into the waist. See how we're open wide across the chest. Last one here. Breathing in, lengthen. This is your recovery, so enjoy this. Shoulders back and down. Straighten and stretch. Shoulder blades together. Elbows come into the waist. Now we do one more, but we add on a side bend. Breathe in and stretch. Breathe out, W. Breathe in, arms to the side, palms are up. Breathe out, elbows into the waist. Pause and take a side bend over to the left. Feel that into the oblique muscles and a stretch on the other side of the body. Return up to standing. Other side. Breathe in, shoulders back and down, chin tucked into the neck. Breathe out, glide down. Active but smooth. Breathe in, arms wide, squeeze the glutes, shoulders back, chin back. Elbows come into the waist. We take it over to the other side. Pause. Come out. One more set of these arms, but with a twist. Breathe in, shoulders back and down. Breathe out. Remember to keep the knees pointing out to the side walls. Very tempting as we get tired for the knees to drop. Stand tall. Now elbows come into the waist. Palms are up. And we take a twist. So head, neck, shoulders, ribs, all the way over to the side. And come center. Last time, moving over to the right. Breathe out into your W. Thumbs reaching the back wall. Try and close those abdominals, tummy bottom back to the spine. Knees out wide. Stand tall, squeeze the glutes. Here's your reset. And then elbows into the waist. We have our last twist. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out. Swiveling on the axis of the spine. Twist, bring out the waist. No air left. And then come center. Toe and heel are feet in. It's mat time. So we'll take one roll down to the mat and we'll meet for cat-cow. When you're ready. Chin to chest. Let's have a nice slow wavering side to side. And we'll pause in a ragdoll fold. Let the head hang. One recovery breath here, and then we'll bend the knees and walk the hands forward to we're on all fours. I'm going to turn the camera around and tuck myself in. All right. So one round of cat-cow. When you're ready, it's a breath in to look up and stretch the front of the body. The breath out, tuck the chin into the chest and rounding the back. Once more with a little bit of a wriggle or some movement that you just feel you need to add on. Maybe it's a sway of the hips. Maybe it's starting to make moves to sit back towards the heels. And then same with your arching cat. Stretching, swaying the hips side to side, shaking out the head. Starting to make that cat-cow more your own. We're extending the right leg out behind you. Now point the toe, level out the hips. Core muscles we've just been waking up. Squeeze. Lift your right leg and tap far out to the side. Then lift, slow control all the way across the body. Squeeze the glutes, the inner thighs. I just feel that work into the inner leg. Twice more on this side. Breathe in, tap, breathe out, close across the body. So if we keep the gaze down to the space between the index fingers, we'll keep a nice long neck, shoulders down away from the ears. Spread the weight over the fingers. And the active leg, that right leg, we're coming into a cow face pose. So draw it all the way up and over your knee. We're cow face pose. Active leg that you were stretching is now on top. And sit back. You may be able to sit on the floor. You may be sitting on the heel. So just see where you get to. We're roughly lowering ourselves or working our way to sitting between the heels. Now we take a recovery breath here, and this should feel yummy in your hip. So breathe into it. Just allow some softening to come into the thighs. It's just a chance to catch your breath. And then we'll go to the other side, that kind of hot potato movement up with the left leg, with a concentration on strengthening the inner thigh. So come back to your all fours. It's the left leg we're extending now. Let's even out the hips, tummy bottom back to the spine and tuck it right under. We point your back toes, so lengthening through the leg as we take the leg to the side. Notice how we destabilize the body here. Try and keep the weight spread over the hands. And we're going right to the end range movement with control. We are maintaining a pulling in the core throughout. But in this position, if you need to be on fists, I should have said fists is fine. With the fingers pointing towards each other, or even onto the forearms. So just whatever
is more supportive or helpful to your wrists. This active leg, we sweep all the way around into our cow face pose, Gomukhtasana, separate the feet and sit back towards the floor. Hopefully there's a gap conveniently created for you, and if not, settle down wherever the hips find themselves and take a recovery, couple of breaths there. Close the eyes and just going inside the body. We're on the last home stretch. After this, we'll be coming onto our backs to do a little bit of core work. Not very much. Not too much, not too little. When you're ready, let's come via all fours and transition onto your backs. So we're going to hug the knees into the chest when you're ready. If you need to take a child pose, you know that's always there for you. So from our supine position, a little rock on the spine. Let's start by imprinting the lower spine. Feet on the floor, press into the floor, tuck the chin into the chest. Now, feeling those TVAs that we've just been working, let's take the legs to tabletop. Now we're working ideally with the knees directly over the hips, no closer in. If that's causing an arch in your spine, then draw them in closer. We're going for toe dips. So we want to find how closely we can get the tummy bottom back to the spine and then keep it there. So we're tapping one set of toes towards the floor. It doesn't have to touch the floor, and then returning. Let's use the breath, breathe in, other leg lowers. Breathing out to return. So switching side to side. Now notice, can you keep your shoulders down? At the tummy button, if it's 2 inches from the mat, say, can we maintain 2 inches throughout this movement? Shoulders down, corset muscle pulling in around the waist. So keep going. Now, if you're finding this arch in the spine is creeping in and it's too much, we can address this in 2 ways. You know, the longer the lever, the harder it is to imprint. So we can either draw the knees in or lift head, neck, and shoulders, but let's make sure there's no tension in the neck. So we can lift the head and you'll find it a little bit easier to imprint the spine. If it's not good for you to lift the head, if this is awful on your neck, then go for the knees closer into the chest. You're in your last couple of reps, and then I'm going to get you to take that mirrored capital D shape. So while you do another set of these, let me explain. We'll be in whichever setup you've found, whether the head is lifted or on the floor. We'll be opening to a wide, an open V, extending the legs in that extended rotated position. The legs come together and then back to your starting point, but no arch in the spine. So let's all do that together. Find that imprint of the lower spine. Tummy bottom back to the spine. Close those front ribs. Open V. Extend the legs. Now, if you're going to arch the spine, take the legs up higher and then back to your starting point. So the legs open, inner thigh stretch, imprint, imprint, extend and return. So let's try to avoid letting the abs pop out. We want to keep that slow, control, contained pull-in in the core. You're nearly there. Give me 2 more of these. And then you've got a lovely bridge to soften and ease out. Last one, wherever you are. So let's make it really strong. Close everything in. Tummy bottom back to the spine. Shoulders down. Long neck. Extend, extend. And then hug the knees into the chest. Feet on the floor. Arms relaxed by the sides. And roll up through the spine. Let's keep the legs with the thighs parallel. Lifting so the chest comes right up to the chin, and see if you can pause there. This is great for stimulating the thyroid. Squeezing the glutes. Now, if you're lucky you're not in the studio with me, with my students, I put a strap around their hips, and as you lower down, you can't lower your hips. So we're lowering the upper spine,
closer to the mid-shoulder blades. Keep that tuck a little bit further down towards the bottoms of the shoulder blades. Each time you're lowering maybe 1 or 2 vertebrae at a time, retuck. Find that slow control, the minutiae of movement to come all the way down to the floor. Last time, breathe in, roll up through the spine, squeeze the glutes, keep the thighs parallel. I don't want to fall out or wide. Can you imprint all 10 toes? Feel the left and right side of the balls of the feet and the heels. And then keep the pelvic tilt, lower the upper spine. Re-establish the tilt in the pelvis, lower down. Tilt, lower down. Tilt, lower, tilt. And the final stage. Take a full body stretch, arms overhead. Here you can flare the ribs, arch the spine, stretch the fingers and the toes wide. Let's just take one little hamstring stretch, extend the right leg up to the ceiling, that's point and flex, circle, still shoulders down, chin tucks into the chest, both directions with those circles, and the other leg, extend, draw in, feel the release, the stretch, length in the back of the legs, point and flex and circle. And then hug the knees into the chest. You can have a little moment there on the mat. Otherwise, we can get on with the day. Well done.